Yay Networks.
Hey guys, episode 57 here. We have a special guest today.
Woohoo!
I'm going to let Jeff do the introduction.
That's right. Dr. Delatorro McNeal is in the house with us today. If you guys don't know, if you guys watch Daily Blast Live, he's a friend of the show.
Yes.
And he was nice enough to come over and do our podcast today. So many inspirational moments I've had with this gentleman just in the short period of time I knew him, and I know it's going to get emotional, but he's the guy to help out with things that we've been going through.
I was about to say, is Jeff going to cry on this episode?
No, I just ran upstairs to get his book, so I'm a little winded. But I will cry. But Doc, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit before we get started, and then we'll jump right in.
Well, first of all, thank you all so much for the hospitality and the opportunity to come and hang out with y'all. It really, really means a lot to me. I'm Dr. Delatorro, everybody. Peak performance expert, Hall of Fame keynote speaker, top 1% of speakers, paid speakers in the world, Wall Street Journal, USA Today bestselling author of my newest book, Shift into a Higher Gear, Better Your Best and Live Life to the Fullest. And I also am a presentation skills master trainer. So I train and mentor people who want to become professional speakers and make a living doing speaking. So,
wow, that was quite the intro. I'm glad you did it. But all worthy of it all.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
I guess we'll jump right in, Doc, because I was that positive guy. I don't know how much you know about like me coming up in this business.
Please.
But yeah, I always was a dreamer, right?
Yeah.
You know, after I played college football, I really felt like I had nowhere to go.
Okay.
You know? And, I graduated with a marketing degree, but that's not what I really wanted to do.
Okay.
So I moved to LA to become an actor, not knowing anything about acting. I just had that dream to do that. Lived there for a couple of years, and I came back to Chicago like 2.5, 3 years later.
Oh, dope.
Kind of with my tail between my legs. You know what I mean? I failed out there.
It didn't work.
It didn't work. I had to move back with my parents, and I kind of lost my way a little bit.
Yeah.
And drinking too much, partying, not establishing myself in any way, bad relationships. I think all of that goes hand in hand.
Sure.
But I did have a boss that turned me on to motivation. And he introduced me to Tony Robbins and all these other old school guys because I was into sales.
Yeah.
And he put me in a room. I remember he was my friend first. I worked with him when I was like 16. And he's like, come back to work with me. My best friends worked there and things like that. And he's like, when you're going to be here 8 hours, I want you in there for 4 hours. I'll pay you to listen to this stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't work. And he's like, just sitting here. And then the other half, you get on the phones. And as I did that, he goes, you could go on your auditions, do whatever you want to do while you're here in Chicago. Because I still had that dream, right? He slowly got me back on that path.
Wow.
And once I started believing in all the stuff he was teaching me and in everything that people were saying, he's like, you've changed so much in the last couple of years. And I got back when I was like 28, 29. So I was off the wagon, or off my path, I should say, not the wagon, for a little while. And when I was just about to turn 31, he goes, you're on the path. And he's like, something big's going to hit. And that's right when I got Big Brother.
Wow.
And I couldn't have gone on at a better time, because had I gone on a couple of years before, I wouldn't have been the same guy.
Right.
And I wouldn't have had the same perspective.
Yeah.
So I was really into the motivation is kind of the point of the story that I'm bringing it back to.
Yeah.
And, just with everything going on with Daily Blast Live, losing the job, I kind of lost, not far off the path,
of course,
but I've lost some of that motivation and maybe want, but I need it more than ever.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm
Absolutely,
saying?
Jeff. Well, first of all, I want to kind of rewind, because you said something really powerful that I want to help you reframe.
Okay.
And so cognitive reframing is a psychological phenomenon where we find the good in a bad situation. Okay. And so you said, hey, I went to LA, tried the dream, came back to Chicago and helped 12 less. Albert Einstein said something that changed my life many years ago. And he gave me the full quote to a quote that we quote all the time, especially to our kids, but we don't share the whole quote. Most of us say to our kids, hey, go out there and win the game because failure's not an option. Right. And we always quote, failure's not an option, failure's not an option.
Right.
But the full quote, Jordan, is failure is not an option. It's actually a privilege reserved exclusively for those who try. I'm going to say that again slower. The real full quote is failure is not an option. It's actually a privilege reserved, set aside for those who attempt, for those who try. So that inspires me so much because it lets me know that success is in the effort.
Right.
You know, and most of us as high achievers, you know what we do, right? We run, and as soon as we get ready to score a touchdown, what do? We push the end zone back 20 yards, right? Because we never actually feel like we've arrived. But man, dude, the fact that you went to Cali and you went after the dream, and then you came back and found a mentor who was willing to take you under his wing, bro, that's amazing. Most people live and die and never have a mentor once.
Right.
So maybe as you continue to grow, part of your healing as you're, you know, going through these shifts that we all go through in life is realizing that the time in California was all intentional. The time in Chicago was all purposeful and intentional, and everything was a building block to get you right where you are on this couch right now.
I love that. And I do believe in that. I do. I mean, the best, I've said it many times on this podcast, the best lessons I've learned in life are from the times I've failed.
Tony Robbins says this all the time. He says, when you succeed, you coast, but when you fail, you ponder. And it's in the pondering that we ask ourselves better questions. Most people, when they go through hard times, they ask themselves bad questions. Why did I do this? Why did this happen to me? What did I do to deserve this, Jordan?
That's me.
Right. That's most people. We ask ourselves disempowering questions, and our brain is set up in such a way that your brain will answer whatever question you ask it. I'm gonna say that again slower.
Yeah.
Your brain will answer. If you ask yourself, if you say, Jordan, man, why am I so stupid? Or why am I so fat? Or why am I so ugly? Or why am I so fill in the blank? Whatever we choose, your brain's gonna answer that question. The problem is we don't like that answer, right? Yeah. Why am I so stupid? Because you're an idiot. Because you came from bad parents. Because you came from a bad background. Your brain's gonna answer the question, but the answer is disempowering. So what we have to learn how to do is ask a better question. We gotta learn how to ask a more empowering question to get a better response. So that sounds like, how has this opportunity prepared me for what's next? That's a good question.
I need to
that's
work on
You see what I'm saying?
That's great.
And that's just, it's just a reframing of the question. Because if the question is set up to have a negative outcome, I don't care what the answer is. The answer also has to be negative to match the question. But if I ask an empowering question, the answer can't be what? Nothing but what? Empowering.
Right.
What is amazing about me today that 7 seasons taught me that has prepared me for this next chapter of my life?
Yeah, and I haven't been looking at it that way.
Exactly. See, and that's a
I look at it like, God, we've been working so hard, and it's 7 years. It's just crumbling. Why? I'm that person.
Yeah.
And I'm that person that I have to walk to get out to stay positive.
Yeah.
I have to listen to motivational speakers to stay positive. I have to work at it.
Yes.
I feel like harder because my mind, he knows, I'm already a moody person. So my mind goes straight to negative.
Gotcha.
Why this?
Right.
I've been a good person. I'm loyal.
Right.
This and that. Why is this happening? So listening to you, I need you to train me.
Yeah, I got you.
I need training.
So here's the truth. Most people are the same way. In other words, I think we've been fed a lot of garbage, to be real honest with you both. I think we've been fed a lie that says if you're inspired or motivated that it's just innate and it's just in you. No, there's nature and there's nurture, right? So at the end of the day, we have to nurture what nature put in us. And that's a daily thing. I believe that the secret to our success or failure is hidden in what we do daily. Right. And right now, right, we just talked about this on the show, right? DBL, right, about the Olympics.
Yeah.
Do Olympic athletes who are the best in the world, do they train once a year? No. Do they train once a quarter? No. Do they train once a month? No. Do they train once a week? No. The best train daily. And so the secret to our mindset being one of more focus, determination, fortitude, motivation, inspiration is every single day you got to put it in there. Yeah. And that's not just for the entrepreneurs or the people who are employees or people who are this or people who come from this back. That's every human being. If we're really going to be intentional about living our best life, we got to work on this sucker every single day, because every one of us, whether we realize it or not, are gifted with a primitive brain. Our brains are primitive. So we are constantly sensing danger. We're constantly sensing fear. Your brain's job is to keep your body alive, right? But there's a difference, watch this, Jordan and Jeff, between your brain and your mind.
Okay.
The brain's biological job is to keep your body functioning and keep you alive.
And your mind is to push past that?
But the mind's job, see, our mind is like fertile farmland. And our mind literally has one job, to harvest whatever we plant. Now, our mind does not care what we plant. This is Earl Nightingale now. But the mind's only job is to harvest what we plant. So if you look at your mind like soil, so act like you got like 20 acres of soil in the mind. You can put nightshade, which is a poison, into that soil. You can put corn, avocado seeds, right?
Yeah.
Into that soil. Does the soil look at you and say, dadgummit, what did you put in here? No, the soil doesn't care. Soil has one job. Manifest, harvest, whatever was planted. Woo!
Yeah.
So if we plant negativity, we can't help but harvest more of it.
Yeah.
But if we plant seeds of positivity, possibility, hope, belief, faith, that better days are coming, then all we can do is harvest more of that. So brain training, or what I call mind training, is a daily thing. Yeah. So for anybody who's watching and you say, okay, hey, I've hit a rock, I've hit a slump, I'm not really going after life, I'm not going after my dreams, I'm not going after my stuff like I used to because I got hit with a setback, I got hit with a challenge, I got hit with news that I didn't expect. That's normal. And I think so many times we beat ourselves up over adversity coming. And we don't say, listen, this is a normal part of life. There's only 3 stages you can be in life. One of my mentors, Dr. Willie Jolly, taught me this. There's only 3 stages you're at in life. Either you're in a storm, you just left one, or you're heading towards one. So the truth is, if we're going to thrive in life, we have to understand that storms are a part of it.
Yeah.
I live in Florida, right? So living in Florida, it rains a lot. It's beautiful, beaches, weather, all that great, but it does rain a lot, right? And I learned that it can't rain all the time. The sun's got to come out again.
Yeah.
Right? And even behind my house, the sun sets behind my house every single day. It's beautiful. And I love to watch it. And scripture reminds us, as from the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, the name of the Lord is to be praised. And what that reminds me of is that if I was blessed to see the sun rise and I was blessed to see the sun go down, God's still in control. There's more for my life. This is just a temporary setback. And if I can learn from it, I can get better because of it.
Yeah, I need you in my life. Let's take a quick break and then we're going to come right back.
Okay, sounds good.
Welcome back.
Wow, I'm digesting all that because I need all. I'm going to just listen to this episode. I'm not even kidding. I'm repeat because everything you're saying makes so much sense to me.
Well, in what we're going through.
Right, yeah. But I used to be everything you're saying. Yeah. I used to be that guy. Yeah. And I don't know what changed. And I'm just being honest because I work on, like I have to work out every day. I have to get myself in the sauna, and that's where I meditate or listen to positivity. Yeah. And I do all those things, and I really took care of myself this last year. Yeah. And then unfortunately this happened. But I think what I fear most is now that I have 2 kids. Yeah. That's what's a little scary. I can't just go to LA and sleep in my buddy's, little spare room that he has and do my thing. Now I have a family to worry about.
That's right.
It's a bigger weight, I feel like I have
responsibility,
to carry.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if you're allowed to dream.
That should be your motivation to be like, I'm going to get this. And that should be more of your drive.
But then am I abandoning my family in some sense if I don't just like get a 9 to 5 and get insurance and just become...
But you're not going to be happy. You won't be happy doing that.
I'm just putting it out there.
I know.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be happy if you're not living your dream.
You're right.
That's it. I know you. You would do it just because, and you would be gripey. And that's why I'm like, don't worry about it. I got the kids. Go.
Yeah.
Go
make
do
the dream
what
happen.
you need to do.
And just as a compliment, Jeff, in my world, I see a lot of people who are stepping out on faith and entrepreneurship, and they don't have the support of their spouse, significant other.
Yeah, she's been great.
So the fact that she's saying, hey, Jordan's saying, hey, listen, I got the kids, you go fly to support this family. That's gangster, bro. That's a massive bonus. That's a massive plus that you have, because there's a lot of people trying to make dreams happen, but they're trying to make it happen on their own. Their other person doesn't believe in their dream.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
And I love the fact that Jordan believes in your dream. So, and you listen, I think we've been sold a bill of goods to say that, okay, every day is perfect. Every day is sunny. No, your best looks different from day to day. Some days my best might be, that I'm killing it with the kids. The next day, my best might be I'm killing it in my career. The next day, my best might be I'm killing it as a caregiver for my elderly parents. Yeah. These are all forms of being the best versions of ourselves. And the truth is, at this age and stage, all of us are juggling a lot of stuff. Yeah. Right? Because we're at this particular age and stage of our lives, most of us, our parents are getting older. So we're having to parent our parents. And we're parenting kids.
Yeah.
And we're still trying to figure life out.
Yeah, exactly.
All at the same time. And you're realizing that, guess what? Some of the things that I was taught, I don't even believe anymore. So now you have to go through the process of kind of re-educating yourself of things that you were taught that you don't necessarily fully agree with anymore, right? As you raise kids and as you parent parents. That's a lot.
It's hard.
So we got to give ourselves grace. There's a term that you learn in therapy called radical self-acceptance. And what radical self-acceptance means is you love yourself as yourself in this moment, in this time. And you accept, okay, cool. Like, for example, right? Like, you get up and work out every day. You know how many people struggle with that desire to just get up and want to work out every day? Like, for me, I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy that wants to just get up and go. I have to find a fun way to do, but like just doing weights just to do weights is boring as hell to me. So I have to find like Zumba, or I got to find like rowing, or I got to find boxing, or I got to find something, or like cycling. I got to find something that's exciting to do, because my personality style is, if it's not exciting, I get bored fast. I get bored quick, And I mean, and at most gyms, everybody's walking around with headphones. They're not really engaging. It's not. I like group fitness. I like stuff in groups. Like, we'll go to F45, or we'll go to, or we'll go to like, the different, like the rowing, and like 80 people are rowing together, and it's like pitch black, and they're playing club music, but we're getting it in. So that works for me, and I think it's so important that we all find what works for us. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
In that space,
absolutely.
yeah. So I'm saying that to encourage you, Jeff. While you might not feel like all the ducks are aligned, look at all the ducks that are aligned. Yeah. And there's only one or two that you just got to kind of reassemble and say, okay, boom, now we're back cooking again.
Yeah, I all of it makes really so much sense.
I feel like your coworker, Erica Cobb, is like your motivator.
Yeah.
Like, Erica is such a go-getter and a boss, and
she believes what she's saying, which is, not
she
just blowing smoke.
Me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, when I talk to her, I'm like, wow, I'm inspired. But I do want to ask you,
please,
have you always been this way? Like, motivating? Were you ever at one point in your life negative, and then you turned your life around and became positive?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So,
like, how did you
not really?
Who you are?
Yeah. So that's a great question.
Usually people have to hit like a rock bottom.
Yeah,
of
that's
sorts.
So for me, my rock bottom was, to give you a little bit of backstory, I was raised, two great parents. My mom, I'm named after my dad. Okay. So the name Delatorro came from my father. Okay. And so I'm the second, I'm the remix, I'm the sequel. You feel me? My dad calls me, he's in the hospital right now. He's been dealing with some challenges, but normally he'll reach out to me. He's like, he'll call me. He's like, son, can I ask you a question? I'm like, what's up, Dad? He's like, who am I? And I'm like, well, Dad, why do you ask me a question? What do you mean, who are you? He's like, who am I? He said, because every time I go online and Google my name, your stuff comes up. He said, you done took my name and like ran with it.
He's probably so proud.
Yeah, absolutely. He's like, I got to go 10 pages into Google to find anything about me. You know what I'm saying? But no, my mom was a Sunday school teacher and an English teacher. So if you're going to be Olivia's kid, you had to be able to talk. So from the time I was in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, I got the longest parts in the church play. I had to play Jesus, Moses, Abraham. I mean, I had to do all this stuff, right? Yeah. And so my mom was always a very positive person. She was literally the closest thing to a Dr. Maya Angelou that I could have. She was articulate. She was powerful. She wasn't like an itinerant speaker, but being an English teacher and being a Sunday school teacher, every day at the dinner table, my grammar was being corrected. My articulation, my pronunciation was being adjusted. And so I grew up in a household like that. Yeah. Now, my parents divorced when I was 2, so I longed for a relationship with my dad, for my real father, for decades. And he had to go and raise a new family and all that. And I had a stepdad who was very physically abusive to my mom. And so I grew up seeing a lot of domestic violence, which was really tough. So for me, my outlet was, we talked about it on the show today, but before I became a speaker, I really wanted to be a member of Boyz II Men. That was my dream.
Really?
I wanted to be the bass singer in Boyz II Men.
Yes.
So I had two.
Boyz II Men.
I had two different singing groups. It was me and 3 white dudes and me and 3 black dudes. I said, okay, one of the 2 ethnic groups can make it. True story, Jeff. So we would sing doo-wop. We would go to restaurants and bars and we would walk around with brandy sniffers and we would sing for tips. And
Did you sing in church?
Of course I sang in church. I sang on praise teams. I did all that stuff. And it was really that upbringing that kind of built my confidence to be a communicator, right? But I had a challenging experience in the 6th grade. So not only did my folks divorce when I was 2, but then in the 6th grade, I was put into a classroom full of all at-risk kids. And they said academically I had no potential and I wouldn't amount to much of anything.
What?
So, but my first African-American teacher that I ever had was also my 6th grade teacher. So she walks into class in the 6th grade with a room full of mostly African-American and brown students. And she said, listen, society has labeled you guys at risk, that you have no academic potential. But I believe, and she looked at me and she said, I believe you're not a youth at risk, you're a youth at promise. And she said, I'm going to mentor you.
Oh,
she looked directly at me and she said, I'm going to mentor you. So at recess every day, all my friends had 30 minutes of recess. I had 15 because she made me sit next to her every day. And she taught me lessons about life.
Wow.
From the 6th grade. So if you think about it, my parents, right? My father's a disabled veteran. My father was shot in the upper back twice in the Vietnam War. So my dad's been in a wheelchair longer than I've been alive, but he's done more without the use of his legs than most people who are fully able-bodied. My dad became the national director of the Paralyzed Veterans Association of America, creating policies for disabled veterans all over the world for like 15 years. So I grew up watching my father do all this amazing stuff from a wheelchair, which gives me no excuse.
Exactly.
And I grew up with a mom who's raising me as a single parent and going through domestic violence. And I just didn't want my mom to struggle. So I got my first job at 14 years old. I was bagging groceries at Winn-Dixie.
Yeah.
That was my first job. And I didn't call myself a bag boy, Jeff. I called myself a package executive.
See, you even rephrased it.
So I said it was my job. On my resume, it said this, Jordan. It was my job to secure the safe transfer of purchased items to the client's motor vehicle in such an ergonomic fashion that it would facilitate a repeat visit in 2 weeks. I was a bag boy, but I didn't call myself a bag boy. You know what I'm saying? So to answer the question, there have been so many amazing people that I believe God put in my life and to teach me things
Build you up.
and to build me to be who I am today. So it's like when you're raised by a single mom and you don't want her to struggle,
No.
and you see her being beaten, but yet we're going to church and everybody's praising her spouse who was a deacon in the church but was physically abusing her at home. Everything in me and my older brother just wanted to grow up fast enough so that we could be men enough so that my mom didn't have to rely on
that man,
some other jerk.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I saw my dad do everything that he was doing from a wheelchair. So I'm like, what the heck is my excuse? So I wasn't always positive, but I had so many influences around me that said, you don't have any excuse for why you can't succeed. And so between my 6th grade teacher, my parents, and people that my mom would put around me to kind of encourage me and support me, after the 6th grade, I didn't have any more academic challenges. Now, here's what's funny. That story that I just told you made it all the way to Lakewood Church, and Joel Osteen has told this same story in 2 separate sermons that have literally aired all over the world, repeat, like evergreen. One, if you don't have to believe me, go to YouTube. Go to YouTube, type in Joel Osteen and type in barrier breaker. You'll watch that sermon, you'll hear him tell my story.
Does he know it's you?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've met. I've been, and so the first time he brought my name up was when his sermon was called Barrier Breaker. The second one was Tell Them What They Can Become. Now, here's what's funny, Jeff. True story. I can't make this stuff up. This is so crazy. Now, I'm a full-grown adult at this point. I go to Houston to speak for an NSA chapter. And on Saturday, the following day, it was Sunday. So I'm like, okay, I've never been to Lakewood. Let me go to Lakewood, check it out. So I text Joel Osteen's brother. Okay. I had his information because I've always been a leader, right? So in the church that I was going to at the time, I was a volunteer leader in the ministry. So when Pastor Joel had come to Tampa, I had a chance to kind of be an armor bearer for his team. So that's how I had his brother's information. So I text Don. I said, hey, I'm here in Houston. I've never been to Lakewood. I'd love to come. I go and I'm like on the 5th row. So he's like, cool, I'm glad you're here, blah, blah, blah. Service is getting ready to start in like 10 or 15 minutes. And he's like, hey, Pastor Joel wants to see you. I said, really? He's like, yeah. So I'm like, what? So the ushers come get me, take me to the back, and I meet Victoria, I meet Joel, and he's like, Delatorro? He's like, you picked one heck of a Sunday to come to Lakewood, son. I said, why is that? He said, I'm telling your story in another sermon again today. I said, are you kidding me? He's like, and so he tells his brother to put me on the front row. I can't make this up.
Wow.
And I'm on the front row. Enjoying the service, and then he's sharing his sermon, and then in the middle of it, he starts telling the story of my childhood upbringing again. And I'm just like, there's no way you could, that kind of intersectionality. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The serendipity of it. You can't replicate that if you tried. And so those kind of moments helped me realize that God's had his hand on my life for a long time. And he's put me in spaces and connected me with people.
Yeah.
And that's what's helped me stay positive. You know, when I finished the bagging groceries and all that stuff, I did performing arts in high school and in college. I got my master's degree in curriculum design from Florida State. Then I came out and I had my first cushy corporate job, and I was making great money in corporate. And then 1 year new to that company, I got laid off, Jeff. 1 year new. But I had bought a brand new house, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna sit back on this new job with this new. And then literally, you know how like you close on a house and you don't have to make a payment for the first 45 days? I got laid off in the 45-day window, Jeff.
Wow.
So what did you do?
I took a deep breath like Jeff did.
I'm like, he's like, oh my God, so close to home. And even that story of half the time with your teacher, like my boss did, a lot of similarities.
Yeah, there's some
in these
similarities. That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying to you to encourage you is all these are signposts, man, that you're being looked out for.
I know I am.
And your path has already been laid before you. Right?
Yeah.
See, I believe that God is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. So if he's thought about your whole life and he gave you all the skills and tools that you would need, it's just a matter of us really being intentional to develop those talents and those skills and to go out there and leave this world better than the way we found it.
Do you think fear holds people back?
Hey, love, before you get there, let's take a quick little break. I know you got to flight out, but you still got a couple more minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep going. Cool. Yeah, we're in some good stuff
let's
here.
take a break and we'll come back.
Okay.
We're back. We're back.
There's so much
good stuff.
Please come back to our house, and then so I can ask like all the questions I want to ask.
Come live with us.
Yeah. We'll come hang out, go rafting, go kayaking, do all the stuff, right?
He did all that.
Let's get it.
But yeah, do you think fear? Because I feel like that was me when I was younger.
Yeah.
Held me back from doing things because I was more so scared what people thought of me, or I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
I wasn't smart enough.
Of course.
It kind of goes back to what you were saying before. Do you think that stops people from their dreams?
With mathematical exactitude, 100%. Fear is the number one biggest thing stopping everyone from going after their next level.
How would you overcome that?
So, first of all, let's kind of dissect fear a little bit, because I think a lot of us have a misunderstanding of fear. And then what we do is we try to use scripture to spiritualize it. Because there's a scripture that says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind, right? Mm-hmm. And we use that scripture to basically say that if you're a believer or if you're a person of faith, you shouldn't have fear, which is ridiculous. Here's why. There's a massive difference, Jeff, between the spirit of fear, which is what the scripture, what that scripture is talking about, and the emotion of fear. The emotion of fear is a hardwired part of our DNA. And at birth, we were blessed with two fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Every other fear is what's called learned behavior in psychology. So if we can learn fear, we can also learn belief. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So if we understand that, we have to understand a few more things about fear. Fear's number one job is to keep you safe. You got to remember, let's go back to what we talked about in the first part of the show. We all are blessed with a primitive brain. The brain's job is to constantly sense and perceive danger. Now, anything that you try to attempt in your life anything, my friend, that you try to attempt in your life that is new, that is different, that is outside of the norm, that's outside of your original way of operating, is outside of your comfort zone. Anytime you attempt to do anything outside of your comfort zone, fear shows up and says, let's not do that. Because your brain is sensing what? Danger. Because it doesn't have a previous reference point for success in that thing. So since there's no previous reference point, it says that's dangerous. Think about it, Jeff. You and I have known this, right? There's been girls before you got married, before Jordan, right? I'm sure there was ladies that you thought were attractive, but have you ever?
Yeah, and you're scared to go up.
You're scared to approach her, right? It's the same fear that makes you afraid to approach a beautiful woman is the exact same fear that will keep you from starting $1 million business.
Yeah,
fear is fear. It doesn't care how it manifests. Does that make sense?
He's been wanting to start this business forever, and it's self-doubting. Fear.
Right, because I don't know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Fear of the unknown.
Correct.
But I have a quote that goes, I could talk to you for days. But I have a quote that I kind of live by. There's a couple of them, but one of them is, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Either way, you're right.
That's
Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're correct. So which means, we have to be very intentional. Right? I was just on the Today Show, July 1st. And one of the things that Chanel said at the end of our little 6-minute segment was she said, one of the things I love about you, Dr. Delatorro, is that you live the examined life. She said, you don't just do life, you really examine your life, right? So one of the things that I like to do, Jordan, to help me with fears as they show up is I get curious about the fear. I say, hey, okay, fear showed up. Why am I afraid of this? What is it? Let's go back to the example with the girl. Is it because I think she's out of my league? Mm-hmm. Is it because I think I can't afford to date her because maybe my money ain't right? Is it because I'm embarrassed because she's around 4 or 5 other her girlfriends, and if she turns me down, now I've been turned down publicly on home theater? Like, what the heck, right?
All of them.
All of it, right? Yeah. Or is it a little bit of all of it, right? No matter what it is. So the first thing we got to do is when we feel like there's fear, get curious. That's the first thing you got to do. Get curious about why fear has shown up. And then ask the question, okay, cool. What lesson am I here to learn? What lesson is this fear trying to teach me? Because the voice of fear and the voice of faith are two very different. And I talk about this in the book, Shifting to a Higher Gear. The voice of fear is always, always, always going to remind you about the facts of your life. The facts. The show got sunset. That's a fact. So fear is going to remind you, hey, this is a fact. This is how much money you got in your account. That's a fact. You got rejected by 3 other girls you approached. That's a fact. That's facts and truth are very different. Truth says, dope. That season has ended. That chapter has ended. Guess what? I now am prepared for my new season. I'm now prepared for my new team, my new opportunity, my next thing. I've been a full-time speaker 21 years. Had I stayed at my first cushy corporate job for 20 years, Dr. Delatorro wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
I'd just be this cool person in corporate America walking around with an Amex and a Diners Club card doing consulting work in companies, which is dope for the people that do it. But I had a massive call on my life to do something transformational for the planet. And so my destiny required that I get over my fear so I could get into my dreams.
That's a good place to end it, man. I wish we could talk all day.
Does that make sense, bro?
It makes so much sense. I'm inspired. You really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I've been feeling, or I haven't been feeling, I should say, but are back. They're back. Good. I want to talk to you more. We're going to have you back on the show another time. I know you got to catch it.
Yeah, no worries. 3 quick tips to help everybody who's as we wrap this up. If you're feeling that you're dealing with fear, or you're feeling like, okay, hey, maybe life isn't really working out the way I want. First thing I want you to do is I want you to sit down and get still. I want you to grab a journal, and I want you to do a quick self-care exercise. I want you to write down, I want you to number first I want you to number your paper 1 through 30. And I want you to write down 30 things you absolutely, positively adore about yourself. Just write down all these things that you love about you. Once you're done with that, then say, okay, cool. What am I dealing with? Go to the next page. What am I dealing? Am I dealing with a job transition, a relationship transition? Whatever the thing is that's causing me to feel like I'm in some kind of a setback state. Cool. This setback has shown up in my life, whether it's a lawsuit, whether it's a divorce, right? Whether it's a bankruptcy, whether it's a job change. There's something that's shown up. Okay, cool. You have shown up in my life. Get curious. Why have you shown up in my life? And sometimes the why isn't always clear in the beginning. It takes a little bit of time to figure out the why. So get clear about what it is that you're concerned about, because most times, I'm just afraid. Afraid of what? And we don't get clear about what the thing that we're afraid of is. So get curious about it. So is it, okay, I'm afraid I can't provide for my family, or I'm afraid that I can't do this and that and the other. Now watch this. There's nothing wrong with grabbing a job or grabbing a side hustle for a couple months while you wait for whatever's going to happen with the new cast and the new show to explode. Something wrong with that. Right. Or start the new business and do that at the same time. You can do them both simultaneously. There's nothing wrong with that. But get the number one thing that helps you get out of fear and get into faith is action. In the book, I call it the throttle. Okay? Because on a motorcycle, cars are cool, motorcycles are way cooler. I've been riding for 15 years, no accidents, praise God, I'm great. Right? And I don't ride.
Protected.
Yeah, I'm protected. I'm covered.
Holy Spirit.
Yeah, man, come on. She's over here preaching. But no, seriously. So like a motorcycle takes 100% of its direction from your intention. And a motorcycle knows what your intention is based upon where you put your weight. So a motorcycle is constantly sensing weight placement and weight distribution. And so one of the things I talk about in the book is where have you put your weight lately? Because you can only go in the direction where you've leaned into. And so this new business opportunity, you got to lean into it a little bit. Now, here's the scary thing about leaning on a motorcycle. The nanosecond you lean on a motorcycle, gravity is working against you. So what keeps a motorcycle up when you're in a deep curve in life, when you're in a career shift, when you're in a relationship shift? The only thing that keeps that motorcycle upright is the throttle, brother. You just said it. So on another sheet of paper, I want you to say, okay, what are the 5 or 10 actions I can take? Baby steps. I have chills all over my body right now. What are the small baby steps I can take to get more control over my life? Well, maybe that means joining a divorce recovery group. Maybe that means deciding that I'm gonna join this cycling class that I like. Maybe that means I'm gonna spend 30 minutes researching what it means to start said new business. Maybe it means I'm going to take a trip to another country for a month and realize that even though I lost this job that was paying me $150,000 a year, and now I'm trying to figure things out and I'm kind of making everything work on a single income of maybe $60,000 or $50,000 or whatever, when you go to a third world country and you realize that they live on pennies and they're happier than Americans are.
You just got back from Mexico.
Exactly. It gives you a new perspective, right? Yes. So get a new perspective. And from that new perspective, take small baby daily actions, and you will watch that fear turn into the fuel that you need to live life to the fullest.
I love you, man. I know you got to get out of here. You guys got to get his book, Shift into a Higher Gear. Delatorro McNeal. Oh my gosh, you guys got to get this book. We're going to take a picture of it. And how they follow you on Instagram, social media.
So we're at Dr. Delatorro on all of our social media platforms. You can follow us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Delatorro. Our website is drdelatorro.com. And that's how you find us. Just Google Dr. Delatorro. And Google will take over the rest. We're super findable everywhere. And we're just honored to add value.
Get into this guy's life. I love you, man. Thank you so much. This isn't the last time I'm going to see you.
Absolutely. Oh, my gosh.
We're friends for life.
Oh, well,
buddy.
we're done. We're locked in, fam.
All right, buddy.
Boom.
That's it. Thank you guys for liking, subscribing. He's got to get out of here. So we'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed that. I sure did. I needed it.